It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Talking to Flo the first time I ever sat down with him last winter, whenever it was. And, as we started talking about the possibilities and that safety group as a whole, it was an exciting conversation that all centered around number 22 and getting him around the line of scrimmage, getting him involved in the rush, getting his hands on balls and coverage, making plays in space, tackling. He's been doing it for his whole career, and it's just good to see him back in positions to make huge plays to impact football games.
And away we bleepin' go, gentlemen. On this Victory Monday, find your Victory Monday hoodies at scorenorth.com/shop. Yeah. Declan's got the victory mustache on today, too.
This is for the Twins.
Yeah, he's already trying to reverse
the
jinxes.
I've never had a mustache
streak.
when they've been in the playoffs. Okay, yeah. I'm trying something new to snap a streak.
Dude, I love it.
Just trying something.
I love the passion from you.
This is a
love your passion.
great week for Minnesota sports. You got the Vikings are 1-3. We'll give our hottest Vikings takes here live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Declan, actually, if you could swap that banner out, because we have to say goodbye to our friends at TCL.
Who we, by the way, as you said, we love and appreciate.
Appreciate them, and say hello to our friends at Quick Trip
as of
this morning. You guys both made stops at your Quick Trips here in the last 12 hours or so. Judd, tell the audience about Quick Trip. Go.
Well, first of all, because it's a presenting sponsor, I think we should all take a moment to chime in on the importance of what Quick Trip brings here. Like, if you like our show, support Quick Trip. Like, if you are, and look, it can include, you know what? You can tweet us your trip to Quick Trip. Tweet us a sign. Tweet us a glazer. Tweet us the chicken that you buy. Okay? But I'm just saying, if you like what the three of us bring, and you know what? TCL was great. Surly's been great, right? But Quick Trip is now the latest company to step forward and say, we believe in Score North, we believe in PD, and we believe that your audience, which we consider a family, will support us. And I think that we should show them that this has nothing to do with like a quick read or something, Yes, we'll tell you all about why they're great. But most importantly, if you love this show and you make it clear to Quick Trip, at Quick Trip on Twitter, hey, you know what? I'm going there. I'm tweeting pictures. The Purple Daily guys don't just sell things. They sell things they believe in. I think it's incredibly important because we get to do this show, which we love, and so many of you came up to us again yesterday at Park Tavern and said,
they started
we love
a
the show.
Quick Trip chant inside Park Tavern.
But I mean, Phil, Dex, chime in here. I just think it's important to articulate, we get to do this, which is daily Vikings coverage every day. And it's because of folks like Quick Trip. So thank you. Thank you very much.
The most important thing there's two things you guys can do to support us. One is just consume our content, and two is support our partners. And most of my family is from the La Crosse, Wisconsin area or the Milwaukee area. And so we've been driving around from Minnesota to Wisconsin, and Quick Trip has been a part of our lives for my entire life, going back to, when I was a little kid. So we're super pumped. They have stepped up here to support us for this 2023 season, and we could not be more excited.
Yeah, I mean, Judd makes fun of me because he claims I live in Wisconsin. Well, I'm in the middle of Quick Trip land, being by the burbs and me on the east side. So I love my Quick Trip. I stop there every week for gas, and I had to get the coffee. I got some coffee for Judd. I got the Glazers for Roscoe. If you really want a good breakdown of every great thing Quick Trip has, stop Ross Brendel. If you ever see him at the next Purple Daily event, and he has a power ranking of all of them, all the great things from Quick Trip.
So last thing here too, because I do have a special at Quick Trip today. I've got a special. I've got the information in my hot little hand right here on special every Monday at your Quick Trip. You can get a roasted whole chicken, prepared fresh daily, and great for meal prep, which I absolutely love, or an easy dinner. How about chicken tenders? I know Phil likes that. I know Declan likes that.
Talk dirty.
Hold on a second. All right, fire it up just quick.
Fire up what? What is it?
If I'm going to talk dirty, if I'm going to tell you about a food that you love.
It's not really.
It is this, yes. How about chicken?
They're going to leave.
How about chicken tenders prepared fresh daily, hand-breaded, huge and jumbo? Listen, Quick Trip has it all. Thank you, Quick Trip.
All right, let's give our hottest. Thank you, Quick Trip. We appreciate it. And thank you for indulging us, audience. Let's start with our hottest Vikings takes. Does anyone? We're all always excited about our hottest takes. Does anyone have like an itch to go first?
Mine's a bigger picture one, so it's not necessarily off the win. I can go first if you want, but if you guys have something off the win,
I'll go first.
I've got something off the game, but
I'll go first.
If you do as well, Phil, just go. Yeah,
I'll go
fine.
first.
Good.
Okay.
Yes.
I slept on this. I felt this way sort of watching the first 3 games. I was the one after the first game telling everyone else to calm down here. Just look at the way they're losing these games. It's not the way that last year's teams was losing. Last year's team, when they lost games, it was like, oh, they're not as good as the Cowboys. Oh, they're not as good as the Eagles. This year, it's like every game they've played, you've thought, the Vikings are better than that team, except they can't stop turning the ball over. And that's the biggest problem. So here's my hottest Vikings take. The Minnesota Vikings are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend and become one of the only teams in NFL history to make the playoffs despite starting 0-3.
Wow.
all right.
That is my hottest Vikings
hold
take
on a
this
second.
morning.
I'm digesting for a second, okay?
And I have data to back this up.
Okay. Yes. Go. I'd like to hear the data before I comment on this. So you go ahead with the data. Thank you. Yeah.
So let me introduce you to the best predictive statistic in the NFL. Yards per play. I bring this up pretty often just because I like it as a measurement. We use it in our State of the Offense on Thursdays. But most sports books in Vegas and beyond use yards per play, net yards per play. How many yards per play are you gaining as an offense? How many yards per play are you giving up as a defense? What's the difference? That's how many of the lines that you see on Sundays are generated. I mean, there's a lot of factors, but like that's a huge component of generating Vegas lines every single Sunday. The difference between yards gained and yards allowed per play, not total yards, but per play, okay? How predictive is it? Let's just start with last season. The top 4 teams in the NFL by net yards per play were the Eagles, 49ers, Chiefs, and Bills. Those were the 4 best records in the NFL. The Vikings were also tied with 13 wins. Turns out it wasn't as predictive. They got beat like a drum a couple times and beat the playoffs. So net yards per play, the 4 best teams in that category last year were the Eagles, 49ers, Chiefs, and Bills. The bottom 4 teams in net yards per play last year were the Texans, Bears, Colts, and Cardinals. So it literally mirrors the best records and the worst records, okay? This season so far, let's start at the bottom. After 4 games here, so we're like a quarter of the way through the season, right? The worst net yards per play teams in the league are the Chicago Bears, the Carolina Panthers, the Denver Broncos, Pittsburgh Steelers, New York Giants, and Cincinnati Bengals. All teams that are just struggling to win games, right? It's predictive. On the flip side, here are the best teams net yards per play. Miami Dolphins, San Francisco 49ers, Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Minnesota Vikings. If they hadn't turned the ball over a bajillion times, and I get that, like, that's not something they've lost those games. That's you don't get those games back. But their process in terms of net yards per play is that of the 49ers, the Ravens, and the Chiefs so far this season. So this is going to flip wins and losses unless that trend also flips.
So I've been thinking about this, and in watching the Chiefs last night against the Jets defense, that is very good. Like the Jets, that's the thing about the Jets. Like, yes, Zach Wilson actually played really well for a good portion or a portion of last night's game, but their defense is good. My concern against the best teams like the Chiefs and San Francisco is, can you outscore them? Because I think what we saw from what Brian Flores, who, by the way, deserves a ton of credit, the game plan against Bryce Young, Carolina, was really damn good and worked really well, and Harrison Smith was awesome. But that being said, when you're going against Mahomes, when you're going against teams that know what they're doing, can you stop them enough, or can your offense just flat out outscore them? And that's why this Chiefs game has me very curious. because I am concerned that the defense is going to get gouged again on Sunday. It's not because Brian Flores is not trying to do things. I think he's got some great ideas, but I think the quality of the opponent becomes massive here. And again, I'll go back to if Andy Dalton starts on Sunday, I think it's a different game. But yes, as far as moving the ball, I do agree. My only question is, can you just flat out start to outscore teams? Well, that's my question.
And if you don't have 4 turnovers
that's what I'm saying,
the goal line, they have 4 turnovers at the goal line this season.
Right.
Is that more predictive than the overall flow of yards over 4 games? I'll lean on the yards and say that the turnovers, I know it keeps happening, but the turnovers aren't. You're not going to turn the ball over 17 times on the goal line. It's not going to happen. I'm
a little bit concerned, and I'll get to this in my statement, but so here's the thing that concerns me about that is because, yes, like the fumbles, we could go back and forth on that. They tick us all off, and I do think that there's something to be said for protecting the football, but the odds are eventually the fumbles, as we saw on Sunday, are going to get cleaned up. The predictive thing that concerns me is the Cousins picks. Like the pick at the 2-yard line on the ball to Osborne where he purposely tried to throw behind KJ because he didn't want to lead him into the safety and he passed up a clear pass to Addison. Like that's just a bad play. And the pick yesterday, which Cousins fell on the sword completely for. So if you were trying to defend him, just stop right now because he's kicking himself this morning at his home. But those are things, Phil, that I don't know if they're going like those 2 throws and those type of mistakes are bothersome, and I hope they get cleaned up. I'm not positive. I'm not as positive that they will, but I get your point.
Okay. All right, Declan, what's your hottest Vikings take?
All right, my hottest take. It's going to piggyback a little bit off Phil's. My hottest take is this is the most important game of Kirk Cousins' future with the Vikings this Sunday against the Chiefs. It's the most important game of his future with the Vikings for this Sunday against the Chiefs, and I'll explain why. So he's coming off a rougher game, but he's had also a very Kirkian-like start to the season, right? His stats have looked great. We've had not everything has been his fault narrative around him this season. That's been a thing even more than usual with Kirk, it's felt like, over these first 4 games. But as we discussed on Ventline, and what Judd almost alluded to there, it almost feels like there's at times KOC has kind of a pacifier on Kirk, right? He's got a little bit of a binky on him. He's a little afraid that if he disrupts the routine, what could go wrong with the baby? What could go wrong with the routine of getting this kid to bed on time, right? And I'm not suggesting that KOC treats Kirk Cousins like he's going to be Pat Mahomes or what Mike McDaniel's been doing with Tua Tagovailoa, but I don't think you can have a game plan and the execution that we saw yesterday against the Panthers and expect the same thing to happen and beat the Chiefs. So Kirk's future may have been decided, but if he goes and balls out against the Chiefs, let's say that happens. He goes and he balls out against the Chiefs, and now all of a sudden the Vikings are back to being potentially a 500 team coming up against the Bears as well. Don't you think that this organization, who loves a safe and secure relationship with Kirk Cousins, that reopens that conversation? I really think that this game is legitimately a crossroads in his career with the Vikings. If he has a big convincing win and he smashes Kansas City in the mouth and he has the Vikings right back in it in the playoff race, I think we're having a bigger conversation of Kirk Cousins' future beyond 2023. So in my opinion, this is the most important game of Kirk Cousins' future with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, because if you win and then you get the Bears, right, the currently winless Bears on the other side, it puts you back at 3-3 most likely if you can beat the Chiefs. But it's the type of game too that, all right, everything's there in front of you and it's a home game. Here we go. It's a nationally televised window. We've seen a couple of these where they just get beat 40-10 and the offense never gets going. So I would think if you pulled the Vikings organization after that 99-yard pick 6, hey, do you want Kirk Cousins back in 2024? I would say overwhelming no. But okay, if he comes back and he plays well against the Chiefs, and they won that game yesterday with him sort of along for the ride, right? Like he only threw the ball 19 times. He had a couple, for sure, one really bad game-changing interception. The other one we could debate about the pressure, whatever. It was the running game, and it was the defense forcing action, Harrison Smith. So maybe that's the way if the running game is going now, maybe this is going to be much less reliant on Kirk anyways going forward. By the way, Zach Wilson lit up the Chiefs last night. So the Chiefs feel like they're pretty rickety here. They lost to the Lions in week 1 without a couple of their best players. They got the Taylor Swift thing going on. So this is a gettable game for the Vikings this weekend.
What Declan just said dovetails perfectly into statement 3. So, like, it's as if we talked. Like, so I'm going to disagree with you a bit, but it's a perfect segue. And my statement is this: Sunday's game is why Kevin O'Connell will move on from Kirk. The decision has been made. And now this is going to be layered, okay? So for all of you who are like, well, the stats, look at the stats of the first 3 games. Judd, look at the stats of the first 3 games. He has one bad game and you're done.
I feel like this was your exact hot take from last week, by the way, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
You said
the Kirk Cousins unequivocally will not be the quarterback in 2024.
Yeah.
I got more on it. I got more on it.
So I just want to clarify.
I got absolutely more on this, and here's why. So it's not the stats, though. It's not the 12 of 19, 139 yards. The 12 completions, I think, ties is low in the O'Connell regime time. I think he had 12 completions against Dallas last year, 80.7 passer rating. It's none of that. What it is this. If any of you guys watch the post-game press conferences, and in particular watch Cousins' post-game press conference, everything we've always talked about rang out incredibly true in those post-game pressers. And the biggest thing with Kirk was how tough he was still being on himself, which, by the way, I'm all for admitting a mistake, but you're an NFL quarterback that threw a pick 6 on your first possession. You have got to move on instantly. Mentally, you have got to move on. It's fine post-game if you want to watch the film, if you want to break it down. I love all that. But I don't need you. I can't have you brooding. I can't have you being upset.
That's a great
And
one.
If you go back and watch that game and then watch the press conference and tie those things together, what you'll see is the mentality of a quarterback who, again, and this goes back to the Netflix documentary when we saw O'Connell and Kirk operating, he flies in the face of what Kevin O'Connell wants mentally. Kevin O'Connell wants you to stay positive. Kevin O'Connell wants you to stay engaged. Kevin O'Connell wants you to forget the previous play, which you have to do in this league. And when you saw those things yesterday, you know what? Kirk is entitled to have a lousy game. Quarterbacks do it. It happens a lot. It's not the statistics. It's the mental makeup of what you do and how you react. And that right there was the biggest problem, in my opinion. Now, the run game, to your point, Phil, like that was great. It worked really well. And the Vikings, at the end of the day, in what was a tremendously ugly football game, found a way to win. And that's the goal, because in this league, there's a lot of ugly games. But when your quarterback almost for a time period or time periods checks out because he's so frazzled, so upset, that is exactly why I say Kirk Cousins will never win a Super Bowl, because it takes a mentality of, F it, I'm going back out there. And yes, he did throw 2 touchdowns to JJ, but the reality was I need somebody wired differently to win playoff games. That would lose you playoff games in an instant, and we've seen it too many times.
Okay, I feel like I could argue this, like, you know where I stand on Kirk, but he throws the pick 6, and then they come back, he throws a couple big passes, the play action game was working. He overcame a 99-yard pick 6, settled in, and it wasn't just him, like it was the offensive line, the running game, that was a total team effort.
Right.
And he was probably much less of a driving factor, but I didn't get the sense that he turtled and cowered in fear for 3 hours. I actually thought he shook it off pretty well. Declan, did you think that where do you side on this one? Is Judd being too hard on Kirk Cousins here?
I don't know if he's being too hard. I do feel like you recycled a hot take, though.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, that's possible.
Which is, I think the recycling of a hot take is fine. It's fine in due time. I think
give it a couple weeks.
Well,
yeah.
Give that hot take a bye week, you know?
But it's a different spin on the hot take. I'm seeing so many things
you're
that
just
I
kind of
don't
crapping
like.
on Kirk Cousins.
But
I'm seeing so many things I don't like.
The scouting report came out, and you still ignored the scouting report and just went back to your original game, which is, hey, if it gets you out, it gets you out. So if it works for you, I'm not gonna blame you for it.
I went home and watched all the pressers to see this, and so I saw something different this time. And when I see these things, Sports Dad can't help but bring them to the table.
So you're kind of going off of like the way
what
that
KOC
he was
said.
being kind of an Eeyore after the game.
He was very down. He was and if you actually go back and watch, and here's something else, okay? Go back and watch O'Connell's post-game locker room speech, which is great. Drops an F-bomb, as we alluded to.
Very exciting.
Kirk's right in the front, and look at how Kirk looks. Kirk looks like someone just shot his dog in front of Kirk.
He does look. I will give you this. All right. I feel like we're being a little nitpicky with the winning quarterback of the first Vikings win since January here, but he did look and feel after the game a little more hung up on his performance not being great than like the team result being good. I will give you that. I will give you that.
And you know what? First 3 games, you put up great stats, and dude, you were 0-3. Like the reality is this: no matter what his stats were or how he played, at the end of the day, they won that football game. They got their first win. I'm only being hard on Kirk because I think Kirk was so hard on himself that he did not enjoy the team win at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Could you say if Kirk Cousins changes his attitude, Kevin O'Connell could be bought back into Kirk Cousins? Like, is there a way to
it
spin his
feels so
attitude?
negative, man. Like they just
He's
won
35.
a game.
He's not going to change his attitude.
It just feels.
It is negative. It is negative.
Why? We got Quick Trip on board.
Yeah, you know what?
We got
Quick Trip
plenty of time to bury this team. Like if they lose more games, and here you are, all just like
Quick Trip signed up for honesty, and that's the reality of Kirk Cousins. You won a game, and look. I wouldn't be negative if Kirk hadn't been. This is all born out of the fact that you can see how much something like this affects his play. It should bother him. I'm cool with that. But it affects him. It affects his play. It affects how he approaches a win. Those first 3 games, if he had thrown a pick 6, now that this is not probable, but if he had thrown a pick 6 in the first 3 games, all 3 of them, and they had won, guess what? You won games. We're talking about wins. But he is still so negatively affected in his mind by a pick 6 in a game that they came back, and because of reasons that had nothing really to do with Kirk. Jefferson caught 2 touchdowns, but the defense manned up. Like that Harrison Smith
he did
game
throw those passes.
is a great game.
You're making it sound like and again, I feel like I'm like rushing to Kirk's defense here to defend his honor.
I'm surprised by this, but I like it.
I just think you are coming in a little too negative today. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Declan's got the optimistic mustache on for the Twins. I got my Victory Monday hooded
Am I
sweatshirt
crapping on the
here.
Twins? Am I crapping on the Twins?
And you have come in here and you have picked out of all the good things you could have picked out from their first win, and you're picking out strategically a bad thing to pour gas on a fire.
I got to be honest with you. I was racking the brain last night for a positive take off that game.
What?
I mean, I could have said my hottest Vikings take cannot be Harrison Smith is still really good.
But you're hot. Okay, but the defense was incredible yesterday. The defense was exactly
against
as
the quarterback
advertised.
who didn't belong on the field. Like it's
Okay, well, he
very
was-
hard to be positive. Sorry. I'm not going to lie to the people out there. I love you
So
people.
is this a pie chart of blame coming up or praise?
Do we are we
it's
scrapping
praise.
Declan's
No,
pie
it's
chart of praise?
No,
Judd's.
it's praise because hottest
Judd,
take
sorry.
means hottest take. The pie chart of praise is what it is. So it's very, very reflective. And believe me, Kirk Cousins not on it.
Wow. After listening to all of this, I can't even believe you're able to put together a pie chart of praise. Really curious to see what this looks and sounds like
how you
here.
feel about pie.
The Vikings defense played great against a quarterback who should be on the bench. That's not a hot take.
Wow. Judd coming in high. We're going to get to Judd's pie chart of praise. That's pie chart of praise here shortly
It's here.
on this live edition of Purple Daily. Victory Monday here. A shout out to our friends at AG1, gentlemen. So a few years ago, I discovered AG1 products, and this may come as a shock to those of you that consume this show on a regular basis, but I and we aren't always great at getting all the right nutrients. We're not exactly eating perfectly necessarily here. We're human, okay? It can be hard. You're busy, especially this time of year. You got kids running all over the place. You got sporting events. You got playoff games. You're busy. That's where AG1 is huge. 1 scoop mixed with your water in the morning or maybe even like middle of the day. and you're covered with 75 high-quality ingredients, important daily nutrients. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, AG1 is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with that first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/purpledaily. That's drinkag1.com/purpledaily. Also, a shout out to our friends at uglydeck.com. If you're operating with no deck or an ugly deck, Judd, we have the place for you.
Oh, we do. And look at those people having great fun. You know why? Because they contacted Ugly Deck, which of course means that your deck is going to be perfect. Uglydeck.com right now offering what they're calling a Reserve My Deck Package Now special for the DIY homeowner who wants to build a deck in the spring and save huge money. For a limited time and customers who reserve their deck package now, uglydeck.com is offering up to $1,000 off a full deck package plus locked-in 2023 pricing. Uglydeck.com will then deliver your deck package to your driveway by May 1st of next year, and you'll be the smartest DIY cat on the block, saving as much as $10,000 on your deck build. So go to uglydeck.com today. Click on the Reserve My Deck Package now. Uglydeck.com is where you go. A personal coach comes out and helps you. I'm telling you right now, it's like a football team. You're going to get assistance, but you're going to save thousands. Uglydeck.com.
And a shout out to our friends at Summit Orthopedics. So if you are dealing with any type of pain involving any like ankles, feet, all the way up to neck, back, shoulders, Summit Orthopedics can help you. Get off that injured list, okay? Instead of being DNP limited or questionable, maybe you can be probable because you worked with Summit Orthopedics. If you're really hurting, they also have orthopedic urgent care 7 days a week starting at 8 a.m. Learn more at summitortho.com. That's summitortho.com.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right, here come a bunch of backhanded compliments.
No.
It's Judd's pie
No.
chart of praise on Purple Daily.
My pie chart of praise goes to those who deserve credit for this win. It goes to those who genuinely deserve credit. As I said, Kirk Cousins will not be involved. All right? So we're going to start, of course, at the bottom and work our way up. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of pie. It's pretty simple. 10% goes to Justin Jefferson. So it was the first game in which Justin Jefferson actually didn't have 100 yards receiving. Instead, he had 6 catches for 85 yards, but it's the first game in which he had multiple touchdowns, 2 touchdowns.
I love how that's kind of a meh game for him. Like, 6 for 85. He did get a couple touchdowns.
And you know what's weird? He was really happy afterwards.
Because they won.
He was really jubilant.
Unlike you.
He was jubilant afterwards. I like that.
Well, he's ripping Kirk because Kirk wasn't happy after a team win. But
he was really, but yes, you're right. That's a very meh game, but you know what? Caught 2 touchdowns. He's got, I think, 3 now. And it's nice when a guy like that has a game like that, and you're just like, oh, that's okay. That's not that great.
I know. It's like, why didn't he get 170 yards? You know, it's just and 14 catches. He has set a ridiculous bar for what we expect from him. Yeah.
Staying on the offensive theme, because not surprisingly, a lot of this pie chart of praise is going to go to the defensive side of the football, well deserved. But the last piece of the offensive pie goes to a 10% chunk to the run game as a whole. Madison and Akers combined for 135 yards rushing, 5.9 yards per carry. Madison finished the day with 95 yards, and the run game has in since the start of the season. The run game has pivoted a lot. It's gotten good, and on the road, that's fantastic because if you can eat clock, that becomes an absolutely essential thing. And you know, it's not the huge runs. The huge runs are sexy and fun to watch. But what is it? It's the ability to control the ball, to get first downs, and to get chunks. Chunks of yards put you in a position where teams have to take both your run game and pass game seriously. So just, the blocking as well. So it's not one guy. It's the blocking as well. It's O'Connell's play calling. It is the job that Madison and Akers did. So 10% chunk goes to just the run game establishing itself and doing a really good job and really coming on in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I was going through for our Trenches with Boone podcast here where he breaks down all the film, just going through kind of a run game cut up with the all 22. I'll hit the football sounder for everything I just said
Football.
there. Yeah. It was just 6, 7, 12, 8. That's what you need with this offense, right? It was just
that's what they wanted last year. That's
a
right.
little bit of a push, and then the run. Whether it was Madison, Cam Akers, like you said, and they find a seam, they fall forward at 7. It doesn't always need to be famine. Oh, there's the 35-yard run, the 70-yard run. Give me 7, give me 8, give me 12. You know, that's what keeps those drives prolonged for sure.
Yeah, and don't give me 2nd and 12. Like that's the thing too is don't give me 3rd and 13. You know, and then break off a huge run. Okay, that looks good, and it changes your statistics. But yes, the consistency of what we saw, if they don't establish the run game like they did on Sunday, they for sure lose that game. Yep. So that's a big part of it. All right.
Okay.
But let's pivot to the last 4 slices of pie, which are all going to be reserved for the defensive side of the football, because the defense stepped up in a big way. 10%, and we're saving a few large chunks here, but 10% goes to Marcus Davenport, who played 4 games against the Eagles, or 4 plays against the Eagles in week 2, got hurt again or couldn't go, but that ankle finally allowed him to play. Now, according to O'Connell, they wanted to ease him in on like 3rd downs on Sunday, but then once he started playing, he looked really good, and so his snaps spiked up. 1 sack, applied consistent pressure. I think number 0, safe to say, was around Bryce Young on replays a lot. Gave a significant boost to a pass rush that needed it. We saw why they took a chance. Mm-hmm. 1 year, I think it maxes out at $13 million. But we definitely saw why the Vikings took a chance. And if Marcus Davenport can stay on the field, and that's a big if, because we don't know that for sure. But if Marcus Davenport stays on the field, Marcus Davenport is going to make a definite difference in how we see this defense and the amount of pressure that Flores he wants to bring, but also can bring.
You see why they wanted to take a flyer on him. When you look different and bigger than NFL offensive and defensive linemen by just standing out there, he looks like a power forward in the NBA or something, but much more like muscular, and it's pretty incredible when you and then we'll see what the PFF measurements say, but I think his presence made a huge difference compared to Patrick Jones, and I know DJ Wanham had a scoop and score in that game, but like Marcus Davenport is a different player when he's healthy.
Funny you should mention that, because DJ Wanham is next on my pie chart of praise with 15% because of what he did. Now resiliency plays a role here, but he's not a starting player, but when he's used right, when he's used in the correct way, which is a rotational guy, but you've got a guy like Davenport in front of you, we saw why they like him. And I'm going to tell you right now, the resiliency was huge, because he dropped what was a sure pick. It probably wasn't going to be a touchdown, although with the speed that we saw in the scoop and score, it might have been. But when he dropped that Bryce Young pass that originated from the 8-yard line, the Vikings 8, I thought to myself, oh my God, this guy is useless. This guy, what's he doing out here? But he then had a sack. He had a 51-yard scoop and score in the heat in Carolina, which for a big man ain't simple.
Yeah, did he have to put the Linval Joseph gas mask on afterwards? Did they have that on the sideline?
He did not do that, but he did say that he actually altered his path to the end zone because he looked up at the Jumbotron and saw a guy making a beeline for him and said, that guy might catch me. So he altered his path there. But anyway, 15% goes to a guy who I think, you know what, everybody, especially in football, a lot of players have roles. And if they get put out of that role, like, okay, Marcus Davenport's up. Next man up. DJ Wanham starts. It's too much for him. But when he's put in the right role, I give him a lot of credit. That was a hell of a game.
Great awareness by a defensive lineman, basically, an edge rusher, defensive lineman, to look up at the Jumbotron during the only time in his career he's going to be in that situation, right?
Yes.
How many other times is DJ Wanham going to be trudging down the field, trying to outrun everyone on a scoop and score, and think to himself, I should look up at the Jumbotron to see if there are defenders trailing me? That's amazing. That's a great sign for his football IQ.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Okay.
So 15% there. Another
The Rock knows how
15%
you feel about
chunk.
pie.
Piece number 5 of the pie goes to Brian Flores. He dialed up a great game plan. I give him, you know what? It's not always going to work. There are times when his instinct to blitz might be too much. But I'm going to tell you right now, what we saw yesterday was what we were begging for from Ed Donatel. I mean begging, and not just us, not just this show, not just the media, not just the fans. The call was coming from inside the building. Kevin O'Connell was begging for this aggressiveness, this willingness to say, you know what, we might get beat, but damn it, if we get beat, let's go down punching. Let's not go down in a cover 2 shell that has one of our most talented players playing deep consistently. So yes, the execution was damn good. The quarterback was damn bad, but you know what? It worked. It worked, and it was a great game plan. And when's the last time that you guys can say, and it's been a while now because Zim's defense has tailed off as well really badly. When's the last time that you guys had fun watching a Vikings defense? Because I felt like yesterday was fun to watch.
5 years ago. Yeah, I mean, Mike Zimmer's defense is double-A gap blitzing, all those stud players, Xavier Rhodes running around, Everson Griffin. So it's been 5 years probably because Zimmer's defenses were bad the last 2 years.
Yes.
2017 is the most fun I've ever had watching a Vikings defense. But this is fun in a different way because this is fun in like, oh my God, they're sending 3 extra rushers and the opposing quarterback, Justin Herbert, is throwing a sidearmed pass across the opposite hash mark, So it's like anything can happen, I guess, with this current team. Oh, there's 4 safeties on the field.
Yep.
This is something new and different that we've never seen before.
And guys are moving around. What are they doing there? They're not just all playing deep. They're just not all scared of being beat deep. Guys are actually moving around, and guys are being used correctly, which gets us to our last chunk of pie. It's going to surprise no one. And I gave him a 35% chunk because I think it's warranted. Perhaps I should have given him more. Harrison Smith, 14 tackles, 3 sacks, which, by the way, in 3 different seasons, Harrison Smith has had 3 sacks for a career high. He equaled his career high for those 3 seasons yesterday. Last year, he equaled his career high with 5 picks because he was always deep. So it became predictable. It paid off at times, but it was predictable. Last season, he had 0 sacks. You've cited, Phil, the PFF stats before about how few times he actually blitzed, about how often a guy who is, great at blitzing, he's basically a coach on the field.
Yeah.
And Harrison Smith yesterday had one of his best games in years. And I thought it was interesting in the post-game locker room. He basically said, I see myself as a difference maker, and I didn't feel like I was one in the first 3 games. And he's probably right. But that performance yesterday, 35%, lights out, and he's a guy who easily could have been gone. Like, they forced him to take a pay cut. He considered, I think, the Bengals. He decided to come back, but he took a pretty substantial haircut to come back and had what I think is a super impressive game considering his age and considering how long it's been since he had a game like that.
I mean, I don't think it's hyperbole to say that's one of the best games of his career, right?
No, I think it's right.
Gets home on 3 sacks, has the game-altering, strip sack on the defensive touchdown. Just class. That's exactly what everyone was hoping would happen when Brian Flores took over a Harrison Smith-led defense.
Yes.
That game right there.
Yes. And O'Connell said in the post-game press conference yesterday, he said when Flo came in last winter to talk to me about the job, he said we sat down and talked about our safeties and how much, because Ed didn't do this, how much they could possibly do. And he said everything centered on one guy, number 22. Number 22.
I'm looking through comments here too. I want to address one thing. And Judd, you brought up earlier, you discredited the Vikings because it was Bryce Young. I'm going to read you a comment here from Still Keep On Losing. Clueless young Bryce Ponder has been sacked a ton by safety blitzes all season. He's the problem, not Harrison Smith being good. Why do we do this? Like, what is your take? Is your take that, hey, a safety blitz is less likely to get home against Patrick Mahomes than it is Bryce Young? Of course. Like, defenses rack up better productivity and better statistics against inexperienced and bad quarterbacks. The Vikings defense and Harrison Smith did exactly what they were supposed to do against a guy making, his third career NFL start? Oh, but that wouldn't happen if it was Patrick Mahomes. No, that's true. That's why Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are a dynasty. So, I don't understand why we have to discredit because it wasn't a Hall of Fame quarterback yesterday. They did what they had to do to fluster that guy. It worked. They got a win. On to the Chiefs. It's just a weird pencil to sharpen, I guess, is my point.
I think it's fair to say that their performance on Sunday is in no way, in my opinion, predictive of what they're going to do against the Chiefs. But Harrison Smith still had a great game. I'm not going to discredit his game. Now, do I think that what Flores dialed up against the Panthers is going to work against the Chiefs? No way. But I'm not going to discredit a guy's game who's 34? And look, I've said at times he looks washed. So let's come back and say, you know what? That was a great game. And it is fun to see. I don't care who the quarterback is in this sense. It's fun to see them look good defensively.
Yes.
It's just a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
It's just a breath of fresh air. But now do I think, hey, Mahomes, Purdy, you guys better watch out? No, I don't. But we'll get to that. That's just, I think it's fair.
Flores,
I think it's fair to see it both ways.
Flores has done it to the Chiefs before. We'll talk about, there was a Miami Chiefs game from 2 or 3 years ago that we can talk about that did not go well for Patrick Mahomes. So there it is. There's your pie chart of praise here.
The Rock knows how you feel about
from
pie.
Judd. 10% Justin Jefferson, 10% to the running game, 10% Marcus Davenport, 15% DJ Wanham, 15% Brian Flores, and 40%, right, if my math is right, to
35, I think.
35? Wait,
Yeah.
10, 10, 10, 15, 15.
I did the math last night.
We might have some pie left over.
35, 15, 15, 10, 10, 10.
Oh, 35.
35% to Harrison Smith.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure we don't, because we have 5%
Oh.
left over. I just want to make sure that.
Oh, no. I did the
everyone-
math last night. I would never do the math
trust
in my head. Yeah, no, I took out the old trusty calculator and did the math. Look, guys like Dex and I, we ain't doing this in our head. I know my limits in life, and the hubris on my part to be like, I'm going to add this up in the old noggin ain't happening.
Yeah. We did the math yesterday at Park Tavern, and people drank a lot of Surly's Before I Die lager. I think at first it was sort of, they were frustrated.
We had a table full of in front of us.
And then toward the end it was celebratory. So I mean, it's the beer that is taking the Twin Cities and beyond by storm this purple season.
And look at that beer. It's an absolutely gorgeous beer. But you know what? The best part is it tastes great. And it speaks to the mission of this show. It speaks to the mission of our friends from Surly, because we all want to see the Purple win a Super Bowl, young or old, before we die. And this is the beer to enjoy on Sundays, or heck, you know what? Any other day of the week. Before I Die from our friends at Surly. Available, of course, in your bars, and now in 12 packs, by the way, a difference from last year in liquor stores. So enjoy a refreshing Before I Die.
And a shout out to our friends over at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. So Federated's been a great partner of ours for several years here on Score North, and even going back to 1500 ESPN when we were doing 4 hours of live radio every day. And they're also just a great partner for business owners. Specifically, if you are a next generation business owner or leader, maybe you're taking over a company from your family. Federated specializes in working with business leaders just like you. So go to federatedinsurance.com, where you can find out more information about how they can provide frontline protection and peace of mind. At Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Before we wrap this live stream here, when the Vikings lose, we give you silver linings. When the Vikings win, we give you nitpicks. But because Judd already gave nitpicks for the first 20 minutes of the show, we're going to start with Judd. You're going to give a silver lining, and then Declan and I will give nitpicks.
Oh, boy. And first of all, the Kirk Cousins thing.
Here we go again.
Okay.
It was genuine. It was from the heart. So
We don't doubt that.
I'd appreciate.
But you did say that there were, I believe verbatim, you said there were no positives to take away from that.
There were very few positive things for a hot take. That's the important thing, for a hot take. I didn't see a lot of positives for a hot take that came from the heart. Like I could have made something up,
Okay.
Pollyanna Judd, but there's enough of that elsewhere, not with me. So anyway, what do I want for a silver lining? You know what I'll use? Kevin O'Connell's post-game speech he's really good at them. I give him a lot of credit.
Yeah.
When I hear PJ Fleck talk, and this is not to rip Fleck, but when I hear him talk, I hear a guy that's sort of, it doesn't feel like it's from the heart. It feels like it's from a place of this is what I need to say. And I'm sure O'Connell's the same way, but this guy should be on TV. Like, he is great because he can sell it completely. I watch that speech and I never think, oh, this sounds really hokey, which, by the way, a lot of times I do on coaches. That speech was, and away we effing go. Again, the F word used perfectly.
Yeah, just sprinkled
away
in.
we go.
Sprinkled in, yep.
And he walks out. He mic drops that. He mic drops and leaves. If he had said, and away we go, okay, that's not bad. That's not bad, all right? But sprinkle in the F-bomb there, it's like, time to go through a wall. That's a huge one to me.
It felt like he was also trying to convince the room, because it's a room that's been kind of beaten down, right? 0-3. And so it was, you have to give that speech in that moment. And you have to talk about the importance of the Chiefs and giving the fans what they deserve at home. Because it is kind of your last stand. If you lose this game, even if you beat the Bears, then you got the Niners. I mean, you have to beat either the Chiefs or the 49ers if you really want it to be away we go. You have to beat one of those two teams at home. Otherwise, you're going to be 2-5 going into the trade deadline week, basically like 3 or 4 games behind the division leader, probably.
So there it is. Okay. Kevin O'Connell, public speaker, engaging his team, absolutely fantastic. Silver lining.
Okay. Dex, what's your nitpick?
So cheap plug. We will cover a lot of this on Purple Daily on Draft Day with Miles and Tyler. But my nitpick, which is kind of ironic because I think we've had him as a silver lining for every loss this season, my nitpick is Jordan Addison. Where the heck was Jordan Addison yesterday? And I know he gave up the block that nearly killed Justin Jefferson's ribs on the one play. But in general, what can the Vikings do to get him more involved, and or what does Jordan Addison, I guess, maybe have to do to stay on the field more? Because we kind of, the Vikings tweeted out the whole 3 deep thing, and we all mocked it, and it deserves kind of to be mocked now. Like, JJ's been incredible. JJ's on pace for the greatest season that we've ever seen from a wide receiver, even with a down game yesterday against the Panthers. But my nitpick would be, what can Jordan Addison do, and I guess the Vikings too, to keep him on the field more? Because when he is on the field and when he stretches the field, he makes a difference. So my nitpick would be Jordan Addison.
Yeah, he really struggles blocking, and with anything sort of physical, he seems to struggle with. He just completely olayed and whiffed. It was supposed to be like a little bubble screen or something, right? And the 2 other receivers, it was like trips left and the 2 other receivers, and KJ's on his guy.
Really tried that hard to block him. It was weird.
Yeah. It was weird. I think I did touch on this earlier, but I think my nitpick is it's unfathomable to have turned the ball over at the goal line 4 times in 4 games. Like, what are you doing? Why are you throwing that pass? Why I think because 3 of them are interceptions and then 1 of them is Justin Jefferson trying to stretch the ball out. We don't hammer Jefferson as much because he is one of the greatest players in franchise history. So I don't know. Maybe he kind of got off scot-free. On the 3 passes that have been turned into interceptions on the goal line, I think 2 of them were definitely tight traffic throws where if the ball doesn't get caught, if it bobbles, it's probably an interception. So they were risky sort of coin flip throws. That one yesterday was just like one of the worst throws he's probably made in his career. So stop turning the ball over on the goal line. That's 28 points you could have had, and then the opponent for sure gets 7 yesterday. So if we could go back and see what would their point differential be, what would their win-loss record be? For sure 2 or 3 wins instead of 1 so far. So there we go, boys. on this Victory Monday. This is such a fun week for Minnesota sports. Chiefs, you got Twins, Blue Jays. We got hockey and basketball training camps firing up here too. It's a good time to be alive.
Wolves just left for their overseas trip, right?
Abu Dhabi, yeah.
Woo! That sounds awesome. Thursday, 10 a.m., I believe. So we're gonna have to alter our entire schedule to watch that game.
Okay, we should maybe do a live stream for their preseason game in Abu Dhabi.
Well, we'll do the Twins. We'll do Twins vent line starting Tuesday, so that's going to be.
We will.
Ready.
We should promote that. Twins Vent Line, Score North Twin Show. It'll be on the Score North YouTube channel, our other YouTube channel, right after each Twins playoff game finishes up. Starting with their first playoff win in almost 20 years. Tomorrow, we will be doing a celebration on the Score North YouTube channel. I know Judd cringes when I say that because he thinks they're going to get swept, but we'll see.
I think I just predicted they would lose because, again, everything is a reverse jinx attempt on that. Because the last 2 times I have predicted that they were going to beat the Yankees and then the Stros, and I was completely wrong. So I'm like, you know what? Let's try and alter this.
No. Try and alter their fate. All right, thanks for hanging out. Please click that subscribe button and the like button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. And 1-3 is a better path than 0-4.